Just on, on the Brendan comments last week, the Honda Civic comments. Why do you think he said that, Neil? And I mean, where do you think that was aimed at? Do you think that was aimed more at the board? And what sort of upside is there for the dressing room in that case? Basically telling his dressing room that they are bang average, and especially the new signings coming in. If you're a new signing coming in, that has been difficult for them. And look, Brendan is right, but that whole message, is that a guy you want to run through a wall for if you're in that dressing room?
Well, that was my immediate thought. If you're a player in the dressing room and you're hearing that from your manager, how you're going to react to that. Like I said, it came out of nowhere because he had spoken to you guys straight after the game, and then he's gone and done it. So in between speaking to Sky and then speaking to the written press, he's had to think about it. So he's obviously quite emotional after the game, and he's obviously annoyed at what he perceives as the lack of quality. But looking at the team on Thursday night, I thought Tenecti was excellent. I thought Negrin was really good, could have had 4 or 5 himself. So actually the new guys that played on Thursday were the big players for Celtic, from an attacking point of view.
Is he right?
It's not a good message. Why? It's not a good message. I didn't like it at all.
Why do you think Brendan Rodgers is right?
Why do I think Brendan Rodgers is right? Well, it's not just me who thinks that, Kris. It's the whole fan base. I mean, it's everybody in Scotland bar you. Who doesn't actually see that? It's the issue. It was the issue at the start of the season. Brendan Rodgers, talked about his dissatisfaction with the quality of player, which they lost key players, didn't get key players in, and that's where all the infighting is at Celtic at this moment. So why do I think it's right? Celtic have scored 11 goals this season.
In the Bayern Munich game, when you're all raving about it, there was 2 players different.
And they were quite good players.
Doesn't matter.
Chris.
Two players is.
How many goals?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it sort of does.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but Kris, sometimes you can't keep going on a upward trajectory. Even though we want to, and I've experienced it myself. It's hard to keep that momentum going all the time. And I know I don't know what went on in the summer window, but they have spent a bit of money. I know Tenecti's club wouldn't let him go initially, and I know that Celtic had made a bid and they turned it down and eventually came, but that was after the Champions League. So I have sympathy with the board on that, but there's this sort of talk that they haven't done their best, they didn't try their best. I'm sure behind the scenes they would have been trying everything they could to get the quality of players.
Was it successful, Neil?
Kris, when do we start to look at Brendan Rodgers and the way he plays? Because it is back to what it was when he left the last time, and it was becoming stale. It's now coming up to that 3-year period, usually when it drops off to Brendan Rodgers. When do we start looking at the way that he wants to play?
It's all about the quality of player which comes in, and some players, quite frankly, just aren't coachable.
You said the recruitment last week was rubbish.
The recruitment isn't good. Hasn't been good.
You said it was rubbish.
Well, the recruitment has been poor.
Well, you've got to give it a chance, though. Tenecti looks a good player to me. Negrin's the leading goal scorer. Balashikwa, we don't know what he can do yet. So you need to let them settle before you make statements coming out like that, Kris.
I need to let them settle. Did you not watch the Champions League qualifier? Have you not watched Celtic in Europe? Have you not seen Celtic on a regular basis this season? If you think that is based on a successful transfer window, Neil, quite frankly, you're miles off.
Well, he's just said the 2 players are missing from the Bayern Munich team. So they should have had more than enough to beat Karat Almaty over 2 games.
That's easy to say. If you're not replacing quality with quality,
it's easy for you to say.
Do you believe that Celtic should have beat Karat Almaty?
Do I think Celtic should have been? That's sort of. I don't know what part of it you don't understand.
You believe they should have beaten?
Answer the question.
I think you give yourself the best possible chance. And it's only Kris, it's only you and Neil in the country who think Celtic have had a successful transfer window.
I'll tell you what then. Well, I'm
saying it's not as bad as what you're making it out to be.
They've definitely had a better transfer window than what Dundee have. Why did they fail to beat them last week?
And then, well, look, Brendan's given his message. He gave his message before the start of the season. He gave a clear message again last week. And listen, I don't agree with what Brendan says, but he's at the end of his tether. He's watching his team, and he knows the quality of player he has been given isn't at the level it should be. Celtic should have kicked on from last season in terms of
Yeah, but
Champions
sometimes
League. They
you'll-
should have been in the
Yeah,
Champions League.
because if
Sometimes
you're
it doesn't
selling
happen.
players-
But,
if you're
but
selling
how are
players-
you arguing against the point you don't want to give yourself
If you're
the
selling
best
players,
possible
if you're bringing
chance?
people in for £2 million and you're selling them for £19 million, that is like Nicholas Kuhn. How can you replace that? Every signing is a gamble, and that's what Tanecki. They've spent more money in Tanecki than what they did in Nicholas Kuhn.
Other clubs have done it successfully. I mean,
the same profile of player.
it's remarkable that you wheel this argument out every week, and you think that Celtic
Well, what's
have had a good.
remarkable is you keep having a go at the
carry on.
board, but you never have a go at what's going on in the pitch. And the pitch has been miles off it as well.
It's what is the primary reason for Celtic being as substandard as they have been this season? You answer that, but you won't.
No, I'll answer, because then with Carroll,
So you're saying it's Brendan's coaching. Brendan, who had the track record of being a successful
coach. The team should have been strong enough to beat Dundee, but that'll go on the board because he didn't bring players in.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Give yourself the best possible chance, Kris.
Does your differing opinions depend on whether you are looking in Scotland and if you have enough to win here, or if you have enough to win in Europe and progress? Is that the differing?
The both of them are reasons why Celtic are where they are. I don't think the recruitment's been good enough. I don't think they've replaced players. You know, Nicholas Kuhn's a prime example. And I know what you're saying. You bring him in for £2.5 million, sell him for 19. They've not signed the right winger.
Whose fault's that? Brendan Rodgers got the last say in every signing at Celtic Park. So why would if Dyson Maeda is your player of the year? Dyson Maeda.
We don't know the inner workings of what was presented to him.
Dyson Maeda was Celtic's player of the season last year. Yes, he fluctuated between the left wing and as a striker. But then Celtic go and sign 2 left wingers. Why?
I don't know, but that's the,
why.
So.
And Brendan's got the last say in every transfer that comes in.
Both of them are at fault here. The recruitment's not been good enough, but the performances. To answer the question you posed to Kris, Celtic at this point, or at the time, should have had enough to beat Kyle Matty.
Yes.
Celtic should be performing
And
better,
Dundee.
and that is on the manager. But there's a disconnect in the whole club between the supporters, the board and the manager. And it's affecting the players that are on the pitch.
Can I just come in? I mean, Kris, you're describing Brendan like he's a rookie manager. This is a guy who's won 11 major honours at Celtic. This is a guy who has been an outstanding coach. This is a guy who's developed the likes of Matt O'Reilly and Alistair Johnson and Nicholas Kuhn and what have you.
Yeah,
and
at this
moment in time, he's saying basically the players which he has been given have been substandard.
Where are you pulling rookie from? Brendan Rodgers is an elite manager that has gotten the best out of this Celtic team for a number of things. But now because he's not getting what he wants, then the toys are out the pram.
Right, guys, we're going to have to move on.
This shout
Kris,
about
thank you. I thought this would be a lot calmer with one up in the gantry and one in the studio. Not, it seems. Kris, thank you for joining us. I'll let you go warm up.
Hope his commentary's better than his questions, boy.
Problems for Celtic, certainly in the final third, but not so for Hearts.